Monday Night Football, it is the Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos. Broncos are a team that are really rolling this season. They're great in both trenches. They're good on the defensive side of the ball. Bo Nix is playing with a lot of confidence. And the Browns, they're coming off of that thrilling NFL Films type of win, as Jameis Winston said that it was. What's the matchup that matters here for Monday Night Football, Carmen?
Yeah, I always kind of default to the Broncos defense because again, coming into this season, there was so many question marks, and Vance Joseph has this unit just
Playing
humming
so well. Yeah.
so well. 257 pressures, that's first in the league.
Mm-hmm.
169 quarterback hurries, that's 19 more than any other team.
And that's
Second in
the pressure is just, I don't mean to like cut you off, but like the
no,
pressure is
no,
just like without a superstar, right? I mean, like, I don't mean
right.
that as any slight to the guys
No,
on the defensive line. Like Zach Allen's playing well, Nick Bonitto's playing well. Like those guys are playing well, but you don't have for example, the guy who I'm about to talk about, like a Myles Garrett. You don't have a TJ Watt. You don't have a Max Crosby, and you still are first in the NFL in pressure. So keep going,
it's
but I just
so
wanted to
no, but
emphasize that.
it's so cohesive. And honestly, actually, on the NFL on Fox podcast earlier this week, we talked about what we were thankful for, and I used it as an opportunity to highlight Zach Allen and exactly how much he's meant because we got a taste of what this unit looked like without him last week. And there was a drastic difference in what he's meant to this team. So yes, he's not the household name that Myles Garrett is, that TJ Watt is, that whoever is, but he means a ton to this Denver defensive line. But they do have production all along it. Second in EPA per play against, second only to the Vikings, and 4.5 yards per play allowed, which ranks first in the league. So they are so stingy. They create so much pressure. You
Mhm.
don't necessarily know where it's coming from, again, which I think is playing into why they have so many pressures without having superstars. You don't have one guy that you can really key in on with this Denver Broncos defense. And this Browns offensive line has struggled. So 57.2 PFF grade, that ranks
Yeah.
30th. 54.4 PFF pass blocking grade, that ranks 29th. 970 rushing yards, when you talk about trying to get the run game going, that's the fourth fewest that they have allowed for. It's just, it's, this is a matchup that you absolutely can't exploit because Denver's defense is doing so well right now, especially up front. And that is exactly who this Browns offensive line is going to have to contain. And then you consider too that the Browns are starting Jameis Winston, and we know that he has a proclivity to want to play that backyard kind of football and make something happen, even when it's not there. And you can force him into some really bad decisions if you are this Denver Broncos defense, all three levels too. I don't mean to leave out the secondary,
Mhm.
but that they could absolutely take advantage of kind of the push that this defensive line gets up front.
Yeah, for this one, I'm looking at Myles Garrett, and he's going up against Garrett Bowles, who's been playing fantastic. I mean, since week 9, elite 90.2 PFF passing grade. I mean, a pressure percentage below 1%. That's so incredibly impressive. You got Mike McGlinchey on the other side, not having as good of a year, but a veteran right tackle. And so, he's not going to be fooled necessarily like by technique of what Myles Garrett's going to be able to do. But Garrett is just so imposing. We know that he's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. How he fares going up against this Broncos offensive line that is playing like a top 5 offensive line in the league,
Yeah.
certainly over the last month and a half. They've been doing a great job of keeping Bo Nix clean and just playing very, very well. So I think that Myles Garrett versus, and in particular, obviously just the Cleveland Browns defensive line as a whole going up against a red-hot Broncos offensive line, which, by the way, Quinn Miners over the last since week 9, so last month basically,
Yeah.
90.8 offensive grade for Quinn Miners, 88.7 run blocking grade, 83.1 pass blocking grade. He has been one of the best guards in the NFL, and he has been
This is a
so much
pro
fun.
Quinn Miners podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he has just been so fantastic. So giving him his flowers there. The plus factor, it's Jameis, right? The ultimate plus factor in every single game that he plays in.
Sure.
We're not telling anybody anything you don't know. The Browns offense really was pretty lifeless before Jameis Winston came in as the starting quarterback, and he has the ability to obviously win you thrilling games like we saw last week, but he also has the ability to lose you games. We haven't really seen a disaster class type of a Jameis Winston game yet this season, though. Right. So even though I think the memories of the 30 for 30 year with him and, how, the crazy interceptions that he threw when he was in Tampa Bay, like all that stuff still exists for people. They watched it. It was real. But he hasn't quite been that quarterback for the Browns. Has he put the ball in harm's way? Yes, he hasn't been perfect, but he hasn't been that catastrophic type of a Jameis. And so, I don't know. Maybe he's, exercised the demons in that regard. I hope I'm not jinxing him there, but how he plays. is obviously a plus factor in this one because the Browns offense just goes as he goes. But I want to shout out well, actually, I'll let you go first because if you don't mention this, I'll mention it before we get out of here. But what's your plus factor in this one?
It's on the Broncos side of offense, and it's any wide receiver not named Courtland Sutton because
yeah, sure.
Bo Nix needs some more help. Devon Vele, Little Jordan Humphrey got his first touchdown of the season 2 weeks ago.
Vele's been playing better too.
Vele,
he's getting in there.
Second on the team in receiving yards, but he has like half the total of Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton has, I think, 744 yards, 5 touchdowns this season. Vele has half of that. So there's a pretty big drop off after you get Courtland Sutton. Troy Franklin has 2 touchdowns as well. So you're just going to need some more some more production out of your second, third, fourth receivers in whatever order that they're in. Figure it out because Bo Nix is developing really well despite everything, and he could use some more targets to really kind of come into his own in this offense to actually be really productive.
I think another plus factor is just the Broncos running back rotation. I don't think they haven't been playing terrible. Like Jaleel McLaughlin and Esme last week, both above 5.0 yards per carry average. McLaughlin has 6.3 yards per carry average. But then you go to Javonte Williams, 8 carries, -2 yards on the day. So it's like, I understand that not every running back can play well, but they've got this 3-headed rushing attack, and it feels like, okay, well, 2 of them do well, and then 1 of them does terribly. It's sort of a tough balance when you have that deep of a rotation and you just don't know who's going to show up every single week. It hasn't quite come back to bite them yet, but I'd just like to see some more overall efficiency for the running back room. Like 1 week it was Esme not running the ball really well. Last week it was Javonte Williams. So just sort of figuring that part out. That's to me a true plus factor. Bo Nix is moving the ball well, no matter what, no matter which running back is showing up, which is great, but a little bit more established sort of rushing attack is important because you go up against a team that's really going to put you wire to wire to really play your best. You can't afford to throw a running back out there who's just like not playing well. So for it to be as much discrepancy as there have been over the last couple of weeks with that 3-headed rushing attack, I'd like to see it be a little bit more cohesive and play a little bit better there. So thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.